Hey friends, thanks for joining me, Jim Baroud, to hear a few insights from leaders who represent our innovation ecosystem. Today's chat is with Julian Rodriguez, co-founder and CEO of Momento NFT. He's also a serial entrepreneur, product manager, and innovation-focused strategist. Julian, thanks for joining us today. Looking forward to this conversation. Tell us what you do.
Yeah, so at Momento, we help. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Momento. We help influencers, celebrities, and athletes turn their short form video and image content into NFTs instantaneously from their mobile phones.
Awesome. And when did you found Momento? How long has it been?
So we founded Momento in 2021. Yeah, we were officially live in both Apple and Android stores since April.
Fantastic. Okay, so take us back. You've had a lot of experience in the industry, and I'm really interested in knowing about what you've done over the years. So take us back to either high school or college and tell us about your experience.
Yeah, I've always, I'm one of those kids that I think was directly influenced by so Steve Jobs had a campaign to get computers into public school systems. And so I'm not sure if he donated or subsidized, but there were a lot of machines that went out to public school systems in sort of suburban areas. One of those suburban areas was out in Long Island, the Long Island School District. And I every single year between being picked or volunteering ended up in front of the computer for an inordinate amount of time. And so my introduction to computers, I just always had a computer around. My first computer was 1994, Windows 95, Packard Bell, right? And yeah, it was just a thing that was part of my life, right? So I'm an only child, so it was just in my house, it was just me and the computer. My mom was okay with that, I guess. So yeah, I always saw the world through a lens of, right, I guess what people would call sort of automation, because in schools, a lot of the computers were used sort of for instructional purposes. But eventually, what you began to understand as as a young person interacting with the computer is this is on a routine, right? If I just do this over and over and over again, I can guess or estimate what the answers are going to be, right? Like I know all the logic. And so I think that is sort of internal, right? Like relationship with the computers really made me look at the world in a different way, right? And I wasn't aware of that difference until college, right? So, when I got to college, there were just a lot of people who just really, their lives had nothing to do with computers, and they saw the world in a total different way. And that's when I kind of realized, like, hey, I should probably major in computer science. Right? I went to school originally for finance, to be honest. Right, Wall Street is has such a huge gravitas in New York, and so I ended up going to Fordham, which was a traditional sort of business kind of leaning focused school. And I had a couple friends that had done well at startups, right? So the idea of startups had came to New York at that time, and they were, they were in that ecosystem. They were having a ton of fun. And actually, what really changed my mind was the Facebook movie. So the Facebook movie came out, and when I saw that, I said, "Man, Mark is great. This guy's great. I want to do that." And yeah, I think that started or was like the final sort of nail in the coffin for finance out and computer science in. And then, at college, we were in the middle of that time of a lot of different sort of macro trends and changes in the economy. Most specifically, we were just coming out of sort of the recession. And in New York in particular, there was a lot of this Occupy Wall Street angst, right? And I think in that climate, between, I don't know, right? So I'm the generation that brought back the Che Guevara shirts, and it was all this idea of sort of revolution and sort of counter element that a lot of young people have. That combined with Occupy Wall Street and things like that in the technical world, I think is really what ended up sparking that initial move towards Bitcoin, right? The idea that you could have a decentralized, sovereign sort of financial system that was open, transparent, and global, and self-governed, right? I think that that's what really brought a lot of people into the fold. And so no better place than New York to just find the most eccentric sort of people, right? A collection of people of all ranges and backgrounds. And that's exactly what happened, right? I had the good fortune. I reached out to, they were a magazine at the time, physical print magazine, the Bitcoin magazine. And the co-founder there was Vitalik. So Vitalik founded the Bitcoin magazine. And at the time he was a sophomore in college. I was a senior. And we just, it's just one of those conversations where it just clicked. It's like, yeah, everything you're saying is what I'm saying. I agree, let's do this, right? And I start working at the magazine. And it was a combination of editing and reviewing some of the articles, which at the time Vitalik wrote about 80% of them by himself, and then helping the physical distribution of the magazine in and around New York City. So everything from Wall Street to Chinatown, parts of Brooklyn, right? It was just we wanted New York to know that Bitcoin was here, and it ended up pretty much. I think the culmination of that was the Bitcoin Center down on Wall Street with Nick Spanos. And when that space opened up, man, it was right, like it was crazy. People were coming through with Google Glass. It just seemed like we were in a different entirely world. And everything was open, and there were people there were people starting other crypto startups, working on other chains, right in that space altogether. And it was pretty much amazing. Eventually in the Bitcoin magazine, Vitalik poured his focus into what would become Ethereum, which originally was it was a research paper, a 6-page spread that we released in the magazine. And people just absolutely loved it. And so Vitalik went to a conference in Miami, and that's when he unveiled it to the world as sort of Ethereum, which at the time was more designed to be sort of an OS for blockchain, right? Vitalik definitely saw this world where you were able to run applications on the blockchain and allow people to do a bunch of different things in again, decentralized, self-governing sort of fashion. And at the time it was kind of controversial. There was only Bitcoin, right? And so what Vitalik was proposing was akin to heresy. And someone so close to Bitcoin, I mean, he's the co-founder of the Bitcoin magazine. It was just like a huge seismic shift. So in the middle of that, I was still young. I was now fresh out of school, and I decided, hey, look, you know what? I want to go. A couple of individuals, people that I knew. So Charlie Shrem ended up going to jail, right? Wrapped up in the Silk Road sort of tax issues that were happening at the time. And to be honest, I mean, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if I was next. I didn't know if I was on the list. I didn't know. And Losky had his hearing, his bit license sort of hearing, and it just seemed to be, kind of caving in, right? Like on all sides, attacking sort of like the idea of what we wanted to achieve. And so I think I decided to just double down into general tech culture, right? More looking towards Silicon Valley, right? So like, how do people start startups, grow and scale startups without going to jail, right? Like, and I joined a startup, and then in 2016, I started my own first venture-backed startup. I had nothing to do with crypto. At this point, the market was now sort of in a lull again. And we were a B2B wholesale marketplace here in New York City, kind of like Fresh Direct for the restaurants and supermarkets, right? Getting them their goods. So super difficult industry. We had trucks, we had pickers, packers. It was last mile, just in time deliveries, razor thin margins. It definitely made me a better entrepreneur, but I don't miss it. I'll say that. I'm much happier running a crypto startup in 2022. But yeah, I think it was a great learning experience. And yeah, I mean, right. So Corona hit, and I think people's perspectives about how much time they're going to spend online and how they felt about digital ownership just immediately changed. right? This was also on the backs of something that was already starting up in late 2019, which was the advent of TikTok, right? TikTok really took over late 2020 because of COVID, but it was already kind of starting to move in that direction. And so the idea of the creator economy was a very compelling idea, right? Like that's when we started hearing rumors late 2019 of they would ask high school kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And instead of the traditional fireman, astronaut kind of answers, they were saying, I want to be YouTube famous, and so that's when that wasn't a fluke. Like this was like the edge sort of news of what everyone in the generation was really thinking and feeling. And so that turned into the creator economy, right? We saw instances of it with Vine. I mean, the Logan brothers made their entire career on Vine, honestly, and then transferred over, brought it over to YouTube, and then now sort of has spread to TikTok, and now we see the world through short form video. So I think for me, it was a combination of putting together a lot of the ideas that we had reviewed and understood, going back to the Bitcoin magazine and seeing the relevant information about the creator economy and about sort of the digital ownership, right? Like, or always online sort of native, right? People. And so, yeah, I mean, that pretty much came together, and that's why we ended up building Momentum.
Wow, that's a really impressive background and super special, right? I mean, very few people get the chance to be involved with Bitcoin at that stage, particularly with Vitalik, right? And have that story to tell. So you have all this experience from your other startups. You've started Momento. Tell us what Momento is, and what makes it different.
Yeah, so we are pretty much the TikTok of Web3, right? So we mix some elements from sort of Patreon, Cameo, things that we have seen have worked, and what we call Web 2.5, right? Where Web 2.0 was all about likes and views. Web 2.5 has sort of moved into tipping and gifting, right? So the idea is you see some content that you like, you directly contribute to that creator, right? But we can take that a step further into actual ownership of the content and full control of the content by the creator themselves, right? And so that's kind of where you see kind of Cameo kind of leans into that, but then just stops short because it's more of a gimmicky kind of like, buy an interaction or, buy a clip from me and I'll sort of sell it that way. It's not really the content that inspires people, right? Like they're not really in control of their moments. This is sort of post-celebrity individuals on Cameo. And so we attempted to really put all of that together. And I think what we do differently is we're not exactly just a crypto platform, and we're definitely not a Web2 platform, right? So we are the cross between the two. What we really end up doing is using crypto tech, right? NFTs, blockchain, other tokens, or blockchain tokens to empower creators to continue to inspire their fans, right? I think, right, like the worst part about what's been going on is, so Zuckerberg has gaslit us into believing that social media is about just likes and follows, right? And so like the general gamut of human interactions is much larger than that. We don't do things just so people can like or approve or see us, right? And most of I think modern civilization is around inspiration, right? You look up to heroes, you look up to figures. I mean, the hero archetype is the most significant archetype mankind has ever had, right? From messiah figures to gladiators, right? I mean, that's really what galvanizes people to do things. And so that has been absent from the internet. And so we are looking to bring that online where you actually feel a direct connection. And those people are able to finally financially benefit from that legacy that they build, right? So now we hope and we encourage creators to build legacy on the internet.
Got it. Okay. And so your competition.
Yeah, so I think, right, competition falls into sort of two buckets. It's kind of like sort of other crypto sort of related decentralized Web3 first apps, which almost always inevitably end up just going into DeFi, because DeFi is fund management, right? I mean, you're kind of managing funds. And so we didn't, a lot of people will veer towards creator coins when thinking about that world. And the reason why we explicitly didn't do creator coins is because it doesn't work. In 2013 was the first creator coin concept. We covered it in the magazine. It didn't work then. It's not going to work now. And it doesn't work because the incentives are misaligned between creators and their fans, right? Creator after creator after creator came to us and said, no, I don't actually want to launch a coin because I don't want to sacrifice my brand and lose a fan if they happen to invest or buy at the wrong time. I don't want other people manipulating my fan base, right, through some sort of token offering. And it is very clear they're not financial managers. They are content creators. And so we focus on the content. That's what we do in Momento. We focus on the content. And that's been going, I think, extremely well, right? Whether it be for digital collectible aspect of the content itself, or to, again, gift or tip the content creator, or unlock some sort of additional, right, sort of a live stream or meet and greet or something like that. People are interacting that way. I mean, I think it makes sense, right? Like, I think most brands identify NFTs as the future of membership, right? Right. And so we're starting to bring that down to the level of the individual creator, right? Because they're better equipped to manage their own brand than anyone else, right? Yeah.
So then give us an example. A creator comes to you. How does that process start and go to, success?
Yeah, so we tried to make it as easy and simple as possible. So the creator downloads the app on the marketplace and starts making content. Really, that's it. So all of our features in the app are geared towards helping them understand what they can and can't offer. They price their content. They pick the blockchain they want to mint on. They pick the number of individual NFTs in the collection, right? And we soon will be implementing our token, which helps them maybe recruit other individuals in their fan base, right? To either encourage other people sort of, I guess, to notice or to buy. And we allow users to buy and sell those digital assets as well, right? So this opens up to sort of speculators or collectors, right? Or people who have the time frame to wait and see if an up and coming creator, I don't know, gets signed to a Marvel or a Disney movie, right? Right. So this is definitely, I think this is the next decade of where the creator economy is going, and we're excited to be first.
Yeah, no, I that seems just really differentiated, right? And making it as easy as possible and giving these options to folks. The question I have is all the content created on the platform specific and exclusive? Because there's content everywhere. We post things on different platforms. I myself do. But if I was to come to you, what I make for Momento and on that platform, would that be exclusive and unique?
So we leave that up to the creator. We do run a curated marketplace. So we do some partnerships with some featured creators. And with them, we explain, hey, look, you want to, we need from you exclusive content. But I think that what other content creators, we want them to be able to take advantage of some of their old viral moments as well, right? That's the kind of the stuff that made them famous, made them who they are, is super on brand, right? And so it's up to them if they decide to mint some of the historical things. I think that this is just a better curation tool for that content creator, right? To manage his brand and continue to engage his audience. And sort of see, right? I mean, this is the first data point in what the actual value of their entertainment is, right? Because nowhere else on social media do you actually get that one-to-one factor, right? It has nothing to do with sort of eventually how entertaining your video is, right? It has everything to do with the algorithms and the number of ads that want to be ran on that video at that time to XYZ demographic, right? So really the content creator has no insight into what their fan base kind of really wants. And they end up becoming like a video factory, right? High burnout, just trying to churn and see if they hit a wave. And really what they're trying to do, right? The algorithms can't see their content. They can just see how many people are watching at a certain time in certain places, right? So it's overall, I think, a bad balance. And again, we're not setting out to replace Web 2. We're setting out to give the creators an alternate way to engage their audiences, right? A more effective way. And so if ultimately that ends up into them, cannibalizing their audience on these other platforms, it's really the fans that will be making the decision to understand that, hey, this the stuff on Facebook isn't exclusive content. The stuff on TikTok isn't exclusive content, right? Like, I don't want to engage there anymore. And they sort of move over organically into what we're doing.
Got it. So if I was a very popular creator on one of the other platforms, YouTube, would I send people to Momento to get an NFT? Is that what sort of your creators are doing?
Yeah, so I think that's like the low-hanging fruit for them. This is just the easiest way to do it right now. Simply because there's no way to sell an NFT in Web 2 today. They, by default, have to go somewhere else to buy, interact, and hold that NFT, right? So every user on our platform has a wallet, right? So everything sort of happens out of the wallet when you create a user account. And so this wallet is multi-purpose, way beyond just its function within Momentum, right? So you can hold coins, you can hold NFTs in that wallet. And so again, it just seems like the natural place where people are going to congregate around, right? And so if we build a brand that people can trust, that people enjoy, they will just keep using these tools, right? It's one of those things where like the first movers typically get close to about 50% market share in any market, right? So we definitely expect that to happen.
Are you saying that I could use your wallet to buy things on other platforms, or in the space in general? So that's another sort of differentiation, where instead of me having a MetaMask wallet or something, I could just use yours. Is that what you're saying?
So that's where we're going. But what you can do now is transfer things that you buy on OpenSea or other places into the Momento wallet. Yes.
I think you're going to get a new customer today. Okay, so tell us about one of your most successful creators. So how did that come about, and where are they now? And tell us that story so we can get sort of some texture here.
Yeah, man, we think of success in different verticals, right? So we went broad, really, right? I mean, I think when you talk about short form videos and entertainment and sort of fandom, I really think you have to go broad. I know a lot of people are like, hey, dig down into one vertical and whatnot, but things just move so laser fast, right? And the attention spans are much shorter nowadays, that I don't think that is a successful way to move forward. And so we have athletes, professional athletes that have done very, very well. Juju Smith-Schuster, Jalen Suggs, Zaire Wade, which is D Wade's son. He's not even actually professional. He's still in the G League. And his focus is being an influencer. I think he wants to be an influencer much more than he wants to be a basketball player. And so he's throwing up a ton of content. And I guess it's just really more natural to him, right? And his generation and his fan base, they just get it. So besides the athletes, we have influencers that have honestly brought over thousands of users from TikTok, from existing TikTok. I'm not too even sure that like the fans on TikTok are that loyal to TikTok itself. I think it's just they just see it as like I don't know, temporary distribution tool, right? I think right the creators are obviously just go for distribution, or right the problem is they're being hit really hard by that, right? Because what TikTok really does is it's a random viral machine, right? So everybody will kind of go viral at least once in their life. And so that doesn't really help you if you're like a top creator and you're really investing and or over investing. And that's why you see a lot of those creators move off of TikTok eventually, like those big Addison Rae and the D'Amelio sisters and things like that. There's just not enough value for you as a creator on TikTok. And then we have a YouTuber. So Drew Binsky was so he's a travel YouTuber, and we sold a ton of NFTs. He just wanted to share with his community. More importantly, we did like we did a campaign where he the ownership of one of the NFTs was a round trip ticket to go be at his next travel destination. And so, someone, I think the person was from Romania, I'm not sure. But someone not even from the US was the one that ended up buying that and meeting him. Right. And so, that brings me, I think, to my last vertical that we're super excited about in the company is really we're a global company on day one, right? Like Web2 companies didn't really think globally until like year 2 or 3. And even in year 2 or 3, they went to English speaking a global company, like they went to like England, right? We're talking about we have users in Indonesia, in Thailand, right, in Romania, right? So I think that where we are today in 2022 is much different than the environment where the Web2 companies started, right? And the idea that everybody really does have a mobile device, an internet connected mobile device in their pockets is at full scale today, right? And that's why we launched this as a mobile first, like a mobile app. The idea there was we wanted to put crypto in the pockets of every person. And so, this was finally the sort of the right time to do that.
And so, just curious, that NFT to meet this YouTuber or celebrity away, where how much did something like that go for?
So he sold the NFT for $1,000.
Okay.
That's the maximum limit currently on the mobile app. We do work with Apple, so we take credit card payments. You don't have to buy with crypto with tokens. And so the App Store on Apple places $1,000 limit right now currently on NFTs, or on all I think discrete items sold through the Apple App Store. But yeah, we're launching a web app as well, just to give artists maybe a little extra edge in case they want to do something huge, right? So, example, if Kanye comes onto the platform, I'm pretty sure that some of his NFTs will go for tens of thousands of dollars, right? And so we want to be ready for that, but that'll probably be somewhere in 2023.
So then, are business leaders, is this attractive or appealing for them as well, or to lend insights and build membership for their communities or other leaders?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So like anybody, especially if you're thinking about monetization, this is right. This is the format to really engage with. I cannot the amount of effort and sort of the amount of risk that you're taking by putting it on Web2 probably really doesn't make sense, right? I think business influencers or business leaders would be looking for a solution like this more than anyone. So yeah, I mean, I'll definitely take the opportunity of this podcast to invite business leaders and creators to come on Memento and definitely like make good content, blast it out to your community, and watch the revenue hockey stick. That's all I can really say.
That might be a nice pilot to do. Frankly, we can talk offline about that, but that would be really fascinating to experiment a little bit, right?
Sure.
So in general, the company's off to a good start. You have funding. Talk about your funding and how that raise happened and how successful that was. And then where you see the company in, let's just say, 3 years and 5 years.
Yeah, so we were very fortunate. I think right like when we came out 2021, we were still sort of in the highs of sort of, right, this crypto upswing. And I think there was just a lot of investors very, very interested in understanding or being part of Web3. Fortunately for us, I think the combination between my background, my co-founder's background, unanimously, what I kept hearing from all of our investors is they knew we could build this, right? And I think that that's the reason why, you know, our fundraising went well. And so to date, we've raised a little over 4.5 million from FTX, Animoca Brands, Cadenza Capital, Ripple, Mark Pincus, right, the founder of Zynga, Bybit, CMT. I mean, it's pretty much a lot of the bigger funds and sort of blockchain co-investors invest as well, right? And so I think we have the right people on the cap table, and I only feel that way really because the interaction back and forth, right? The conversation with all these investors has always been extremely helpful, right? And so I've never felt like they didn't get what we were doing or where we were going, right? And so I think for us, so we are going into a Series A raise now. We want to wrap it up by the end of this year. And, you know, we're seriously thinking about, right, who that first board member is going to be, right? And really just have them understand that this is much bigger than sort of, hey, how much worth of NFTs are people buying right now, right? They really understand how big these individual markets are, whether it's Southeast Asia or MENA or Europe or Latin America, Africa, or the US. Like, they're all seismic TAM markets, right? And we have access to them on day one. So I really think like this is the company for an investor that gets excited about these topics, right? Because like I remember the one thing that I always say to our lead investor, which was Cadenza Capital, is that, you know, running a social media company is fun, right? Like, this is just generally enjoyable. And I want to make sure that we have partners that feel that way as well, right? That just don't see this as a way of like, hey, we get the views up, we can run ads, right? Like, or like, hey, you know, why don't you increase your market fees by 5%, right? You know, so it's simply really just things like that I think are just, for us, are kind of basic. But you know, you'd be surprised. There are a lot of people that would want to participate in the upside of something like this, but have no general actual interest in something like this.
And what about the market now? Obviously, NFTs have swooned a little bit. Is that beneficial, or how does that affect your business and your vision?
I think it's beneficial in terms of, right, this is like, you know, sort of shaking some of the loose leaves off of the tree, right? So, for example, you're going to see a lot of those, I don't know, right, like newer, high promising sort of projects just stop talking, right? Or just sort of stop operating. And it's coming much quicker than just them, I think, naturally sort of fizzling out. And so I think it keeps the market in general focused on the right things, right? And so there's much less noise. And now, even in talent, right, we're always hiring. We're starting to see a better group of talent really emerge and say, hey, this is what I want to do, right? I want to work at a company that's doing this. And so hiring is much easier for us now. I would definitely say that. I think, right, on the investor partner side, it's a little harder for us to decipher, simply because investing is always opaque. You know, you don't really know what the investor is really thinking when he says yes or no, right? And so, yeah, you have to spend much more time understanding, well, who is really, you know, has that 10-year focus, right? Or has that inclination towards the creator economy, or really, really understands Web3 or wants to understand Web3. But I would say overall, the climate is good for, I think, a company like us. We're fortunate enough to be well capitalized going into this. Yeah, I mean, I'd say the product is probably about 15% done. So we're super excited about all the other features that we're constantly rolling out. And we have we have the capital to see it come to fruition.
Got it. Now, what about the trends that are going on, the opportunities ahead, and crypto creator, Web3 economies? What should we keep our eyes open for?
Yeah, so I think for PFP projects and GameFi, you're going to see a lot of attempts to copycat, right? And I think a lot of those are going to, right? So I think a good proxy for GameFi is general mobile development, right? Mobile games as a whole for the past decade, some have, it's like every 5 to 6 months, a new game comes out, gets super popular, and then it kind of drops down, and then the next game takes over. We might see that in crypto. I think that's a gaming thing, not a crypto thing. And so, I suspect that a lot of those gaming groups just start to integrate crypto just cause, right? That might be a thing. I think on the PFP side, right? Of course, everybody wants to be Bored Apes, right? And everybody wants to be Yuga Labs. But I think that they have done so well, raised so much money, have all the best partners, that I think that they're starting to sort of monopolize that PFP zone. I think it would be a fluke for some bigger PFP project to come out, right? It's just one of those random happenstances. I think Yuga Labs is going to continue to pump out a lot of things, right, with all the capital they're sitting on. And then I think, right, the last leg is sort of like kind of what we're doing, where you're going to see more startups maybe attempt to get into the creator economy, deal more socially. The industry as a whole is still defining what social means for Web3, right? Because to be honest, Web3 social, right, completely decentralized, is not appealing as a social thing, right? Like, how do you bond the two of discrete decentralized entities being social, right, in a digital world? I don't think anyone has really solved that. So yeah, I think the trends are going to lean, in my personal opinion, I think a lot of the larger companies, Microsoft, Apple, of course, Facebook itself with its approach towards the metaverse, are going to start to have to implement these technologies. But it's going to fundamentally mean changes for their employees, for them as a company, their investors, and their revenue models. And so that's a huge overhaul for any company, right? Like what you're talking about is fundamentally shifting the company, right? And so what's the incentive for a multi-billion-dollar company, a company that's making, right, billions of dollars in revenue, to make all those changes? And that's why I think that they haven't, right? But eventually, right, a lot of these companies, Microsoft, Google specifically, they have so many lines of business, so many projects, right, that even if they just test in one of their own verticals, maybe they might get it, right? And maybe that is MR, AR, maybe it's some sort of mobile implementation, maybe it's some supply chain tech, right? We just have to, I guess, we have to wait and see that, right? But I think this gives it's a fertile ground for startups to take ideas, right? Because people are still writing seed stage checks for Web3 projects. I think the whole world sort of wants to see where this is going, because, I mean, to be honest, a more sort of vigorous seed stage sort of energy leads to more profits amongst more VCs, right? We're moving away from the world where Sequoia and A16 just have everything, right? And the more we sort of fund these smaller projects in the seed stage, the more hands or the more LPs could make more returns. So I would believe that the industry as a whole is biased towards that outcome. So I think it's just going to happen.
Yeah, no, that's really illuminating, Julian. Let's just back up for a sec. PFP, just for folks who don't know what that is, can you explain that?
Yeah, so that just refers to the profile pic projects that started this sort of NFT wave, right? So literally, it's just a static image, right? Most of the time, it's sort of a facial avatar, right, from like the shoulders up. That's what Bored Apes was, CryptoPunks, right, and sort of a lot of these other projects that are on different chains now. And I think that, right, like, sure, in 2020, 2021, we were really into the art. But what we noticed even on Momento, we have a ton of graphic designers and digital artists. They don't just make portraits, right? Like their designs and their art is wide in its scope. And so short form video gives them a different medium to try to experiment with that. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't buy something that isn't created, right? So like if the artists want to create more, you're just going to see more of that in out there in the world. And so that's where we ultimately believe, right? Like what, okay, to me, right, what is more impactful? Has it been the Mona Lisa itself or Leonardo da Vinci? Right? I think you automatically know that, wow, right, Leonardo da Vinci was the guy, right? Like this was a nice drawing, but wow, when you see all the rest of his contributions, I mean, it's mind-boggling, right? So I think that we're always going to lean towards that, where what you see with these PFP drops is like, unfortunately, the creators in those projects don't even get properly compensated. They just kind of outsource the drawings to someone, pay them a couple $100 in a lot of cases, and then this group is just sort of off with the marketing and the branding. So that just doesn't track for me. That doesn't seem to make sense with how people think and operate. So I suspect that that's probably not going to continue to happen.
Got it. Now, you also mentioned that people can choose the chain they're on. And I'm
Yeah.
just curious about what is the most popular. As someone who knew Vitalik and is very knowledgeable about Ethereum, what's going on and what are you seeing in that area?
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying this to pump any chain, sort of above the other, but we're seeing a lot of traction and interest in Solana. I think that the technical points that they talk about, their talking points, have done very well, right? Everybody wants faster, cheaper, right? More scalable. And I think that, right now, Solana seems to be like the Ferrari of the space, right? In terms of like how fast it can go. Like this is, an elite tuned machine. Even though they have had a lot of technical hiccups, some that have been affecting us, but yeah, by far, I think our current user base is associating us with Solana.
Got it. This has been really a great conversation, Julian. I really appreciate it. But what's one insight, one takeaway for us, the audience, that we should all know about the creator economy?
Yeah, so this is insane, really, when you think about it. So currently, the creator economy is worth about $105 billion. They're on track to jump up to $700 billion by 2026, right? So that's 7x over the next 4 years, right? So that's a huge opportunity for creators, investors, speculators, and the fan bases, right? More and more people are just going to come online and going to have direct access to those creators, right? This is your inside ticket to be a Hollywood insider in the new Hollywood, right? And so Momento, we're trying to encourage, right, and foster that economy. Hopefully, that 50% that I had mentioned earlier comes true. I mean, we have 50% market share of $700 billion. I would be a very happy camper. So let's see.
That sounds good. All right, and usually we end, Julian, with a poem or a saying. And I want to make sure I asked you for the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have something that I think is really special, and I'll elaborate on it after the quote. But yeah, the quote is, the computer can be used as a tool to liberate and protect people rather than to control them. That was by Hal Finney. And, Hal Finney, I think, is someone who is very, very special in the crypto world, specifically around Bitcoin. So Hal used to work at Oracle. He created the pre-GP protocol for email, right? And this guy dedicated most of his later life, he's passed on, to Bitcoin exclusively. And so a lot of us early on are really, really grateful for all the things that he has done. Right? There are some rumors, I think, that some people speculate that he might be Satoshi. Right? I'm not gonna. I think for me personally, that'd be my bet. And unless Vitalik's idea has changed on that, he would agree. But yeah, I think it's an interesting story. I think that there was actually, I think, one documentary. I'm not sure if Hal was alive when it happened, but I think Vice tried to cover it. He does have a son, and yeah, Hal has, dedicated his entire adult life to the things that we're working on today, and just kind of like a silent warrior. He lived in a regular house, I believe, in Maine, right? Yeah. Yeah, but I think is one of those people who definitely changed the world.
Wow, thanks for that history lesson. That's really really interesting tidbit there. Thank you for that. And Julian, this has been a great conversation. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please like it, leave a review, and subscribe. See you soon.